सीधे आपको लिए चलते हैं 28वें महालेखाकार सम्मेलन में, जहां वित्त मंत्री अरुण जेटली इस वक्त संबोधित कर रहे हैं।
And of course, with every day that you spend in government, more and more reality starts sinking in you. There has always been one school of thought which believed that the audit of each action of yours adds to transparency, adds to good governance. And when you are unhappy, you feel that it's probably a necessary irritant. But then as realities do sink in you, there are a few preliminary observations with regard to governance which are absolutely necessary. The first and foremost being that credibility is of utmost essential necessity as far as any government is concerned. A government which lacks credibility will always be unable to take any decision. And even if it does, the decisions itself will not carry the kind of moral and ethical force that a decision of a government or the state should normally carry. The second, that whereas governments always have the last word as far as the life of a nation is concerned, governments have power, but that power can never be absolute power. That power has to be exercised for good reasons, for reasons which have a reasonable nexus to the object for which that power is vested in governments. And therefore, the exercise of that power is always circumscribed by those elements of good conscience itself. The third, and that's an extreme proposition, that it has to be ensured that no power whatsoever is exercised for extraneous, collateral, or any corrupt reasons. And if it is, the system has a right to come harden that particular decision making. On the other hand, there are two other constraints. The first being that those in governance, more particularly the civil servants, have to be given an adequate play with the joints so that experimentation at good decision making can take place. And for that purpose, the system has always to distinguish between an erroneous decision and an improper decision. Unless we are able to make that distinction, any post facto analysis of that decision itself would have an adverse consequence on the quality of decision making and the speed of decision making itself. And that leads me to a last observation on this account, that this entire exercise of accountability for the purposes of improvement must always balance itself with the adequate empowerment of the decision maker and not push him to such a defensive positioning that he prefers deferment of a decision in order to avoid facing a consequence subsequently. And I think broadly keeping in terms this vision, we've been guided, if I may say, during my last visit to this August gathering and today in taking several important decisions. And I think the first and the foremost is that those in power will always have discretions. But can those discretions, particularly in commercial and economic matters, be eliminated? Can those discretions, if cannot be eliminated, can they be significantly reduced? On first sight, it is always preferred to have discretions vested in yourself. But that could be also inviting a very serious problem. And in this case, I would give the simple illustration of discretions in the matter of allocation of natural resources. Originally, when we formulated policies and legislations, we were constrained with the situation that there were very few takers.